Sa unang episode, napag-usapan natin kung ano ang deepfake at ang mga positibo at negatibong paggamit nito. Ngunit, sa likod ng teknolohiyang ito, may mga totoong biktima. Kasama natin ngayon si Plaridel. Hindi niya tunay na pangalan. Isa siyang biktima ng deepfake sa totoong buhay. Nakausap siya ng aming team at pumayag siyang ibahagi ang kanyang storya.
Hindi ko alam kung saan magsisimula. Reliving or remembering that moment makes me not feel good. Pero, sige, I'll try. Ini-expect kong typical lamang ang araw ko. Alam mo yon, yung gigising at babangon ng magulo yung buhok. Magtitimpla ng kape. Papasok sa trabaho. Yung usual lang talaga. The incident began nung March or April of 2023. Habang naglalakad ako papunta sa van terminal, I was reading a research paper online on my Android phone. Unfortunately, I accidentally clicked on an advertisement without noticing it. After boarding the van, I dozed off for a bit. As a professor at a private institution, tahimik at carefree lang yung buhay ko before the incident happened. However, I was aware that deepfakes were gaining traction, particularly in the news and online discussions. Little did I know that this emerging technology would soon have a direct impact on my own life and the lives of those around me. When I woke up, nakita ko na lang na yung social media accounts ko na-access na from an external location. A few hours later, nakatanggap ako ng email sa personal account ko, which heightened my concern since the content was a supposed video of me doing an unsavory thing in front of the camera. I was shocked to see that a supposed video of me had been created gamit yung photos from my Facebook account, including a private image of me in my room. The image depicted a highly inappropriate situation. In a state of panic, I quickly replied to the email and created an account sa Telegram para mag-respond dun sa perpetrator. My experience was overwhelming. I felt a mix of fear and helplessness as I tried to navigate this unexpected and distressing situation. Pinilit kong mag-ayos para pumunta sa local cybercrime division sa community namin. Unfortunately, their response was disheartening. Sinabi nila sa akin na they could not assist with my situation unless I pay their hackers a minimum amount of 250,000 pesos. This requirement felt incredibly unjust as I was already in a vulnerable position. Yung agent mukhang walang pake sa concerns ko. Sinabihan na lang ako to simply delete all my social media accounts instead. This suggestion left me feeling even more isolated and frustrated, as it seemed like a drastic measure that wouldn't address the root of the problem. I had hoped for guidance and support, but instead, I felt dismissed and helpless in the face of the ongoing threat. Humihingi yung perpetrator ng malaking halaga. Kung hindi ko raw ibibigay, ipagkakalat daw nila yung video sa Facebook and upload it to an adult website. I tried to calm myself. Kahit deep inside, I was severely panicking. Pagka-uwi ko, I had no choice but to comply kung gusto ko ma-retain yung reputation ko. After I paid the initial amount, they called me via video chat to show that they had deleted the file from their PC. However, this was just the beginning of a never-ending cycle. Nag-request ulit sila ng another payment to remove the video from the recycle bin. Each time they deleted the file, hihingi sila ng mas malaking amount, claiming that it needed to be permanently erased and demanding a screenshot of our conversation on Telegram as proof of my compliance. I found myself in a state of panic, desperate to prevent the deepfake video from spreading. Di ko ma-describe yung amount ng fear of humiliation and yung potential impact nito on my personal and professional life weighed heavily on me. Several key factors influenced my decisions during this ordeal. First, I was deeply concerned about how my colleagues and students would perceive me if the deepfake video was released, which heightened my fear of reputation damage.
Grabe si Sir, oh. Master of self-service.
Sir, bolster na bolster datingan natin ah.
Napakalapit na hand technique naman yan, sir.
This fear, combined with the emotional turmoil I was experiencing, clouded my judgment and made it difficult to think clearly, pushing me to act impulsively. In my desperation for resolution, I wanted to end the threats, believing that each payment would bring closure, even though I soon realized that the demands were likely to continue. To be honest, I just want to erase that instance from my mind. I participated in this interview since I think that this is a welcome development for awareness.
Oo, naintindihan ko kayo. Given na mabigat and traumatic yung naging experience nyo, and I still want to commend you for having the courage to share your story with us. Sa tingin nyo, what steps can be taken ba to prevent similar cases from happening in the future? Or to provide better support for the victims?
To prevent future cases of online threats and better support victims, several steps are essential. First, we need to raise public awareness about the dangers of deepfake and online extortion through educational campaigns. Second, law enforcement should receive improved training to handle cybercrime effectively and sensitively. Creating dedicated support networks for victims can offer crucial emotional and practical assistance, including counseling and legal advice. Lastly, strengthening laws against digital crimes is vital, with stricter penalties for offenders and clear reporting avenues for victims. These measures can help foster a safer online environment.
Yes, nag-agree ako. Lalo na't medyo recent lang naging kilala yung deepfake or AI in general. And marami pa sa atin yung hindi alam kung paano yung tamang paggamit nito. And kapag ginamit pa, sa maling pamamaraan pa. Maraming salamat dahil na-share nyo pa yung experience nyo sa amin at yung harm na pwedeng i-cause ng deepfake. With that in mind, what do you wish people understood more about being a victim of a deepfake?
I wish people would better understand the profound emotional and psychological impact that being a victim of deepfake technology can have. Many may not realize how isolating this experience can be, as victims often feel misunderstood or dismissed by those who haven't faced similar threats. There's also a significant psychological toll, including anxiety, fear, and feelings of powerlessness.
I admire you for your bravery and sa determination mong mag-recover. It's important for people like you to let the world know about your story. Awareness is still lacking when it comes to this matter of deepfake crimes na dapat talagang pagtuunan ng pansin.
Thank you, Ren, for taking a step towards awareness regarding this. I hope that by sharing my story, it will serve as an eye-opener for the people out there na kahit kanino pwede mangyari yung nangyari sa akin.
Before we end this interview, may I know kung kamusta na po kayo ever since nung nangyari yung incident? Do you feel like you're coping well now or nahihirapan pa rin po ba kayo?
Since the incident, I have been on a journey of recovery and self-reflection. Initially, the emotional impact was profound, leaving me with lingering anxiety and distrust in online interactions. Over time, however, I have sought to rebuild my sense of security and regain control over my digital presence. I've taken steps to educate myself about online safety and cybersecurity, which has helped me feel more empowered. While I am coping better than before, there are still moments when the experience resurfaces, triggering feelings of vulnerability and fear. But I'm very thankful for my loved ones na naging malaking part ng recovery ko. It's also very important to have a support system around you. This experience taught me the importance of taking back control, learning how to protect myself, surrounding myself with people who truly care, and slowly rebuilding my confidence. My journey wasn't easy. It still isn't easy, but I hope it serves as a reminder to others going through something similar. It's possible to rise above the fear, to heal, and to reclaim your life, one step at a time.
So, with negative experience kasi it's important. The perception of the person, the victim, is important. So, dito na papasok yung pinag-uusapan natin na coping mechanisms. So, there's always those possibilities. Kung ang tinitingnan natin is yung possible na diagnosis for these individuals, again, namumuna dyan yung acute stress disorder or PTSD, no? Pwede rin karoon ng phobia, for instance. Pwede rin karoon ng mood disorder symptoms, including depression and mania. So, maraming pwedeng ma-develop na unhealthy na symptoms or psychological disorder yung individual because of this negative experience. So, from a psychological standpoint, of course, it's very important for us not to blame the victim. Diba? Because, well, precisely the victim is aware of perhaps these things. Kung ano man yung faults niya, no? Kung ano man yung mga naging kakulangan niya, the victim is already aware of that. So it wouldn't be helpful if we are to blame the victim, no? Na dapat hindi siya nag-post ng photos niya na prenup, no? Para ilagay doon sa video. Kasi this is the fake, eh. And right now, hindi rin naman talaga natin may iwasan to post our pictures. Diba? So, ang isang mistake that one mistake that is pretty common that we do is we tend to shift the blame towards the victim, and it's never healthy.
Bale, ano pong masasabi niyo po sa video?
Maganda yung quality. Para sa kung deepfake yan, sobrang accurate ng niya. Grabe din yung detail niya kung iisipin eh. So sobrang dalingan naman talagang gamitin niya for misuse yun, mga ganung bagay.
And I think it was Bacardi that had something to do with it.
Mas nagigets niyo na po yung concept po ng deepfake.
Yes po. So, very dangerous na siya ngayon kasi halos lahat na rin ng mga tao, maski bata, may access na sa Wi-Fi, and then hindi na mahirap mag-navigate ngayon ng mga controls. So, mas prone talaga siya na yung kahit anong edad is matuto silang mag-open or mag-operate ng deepfake.
Siguro ang pinakamalalang maging epekto ng deepfake sa isang kakilala ko is pwede ito maka-apekto sa mental health niya. Kasi siyempre, isipin mo, di mo naman ginawa yung bagay na yun. Pwedeng gamitin to ng iba para siraan ka. Siyempre, ma-apektuhan ka nito at magkukos sa'yo ng damage sa iyong mental health. And pwede rin ito maka-apekto sa iyong work. Di ba mga ka-office work mo, pwede rin lang maniwala sa mga rumors na yun na ginawa ng deepfake na with the use of AI. Sobrang mess up kasi nung pag-using ng deepfakes eh. Sabi natin, kakilala ko na deepfakes, pwede siyang yun nga, parang sinabi niyo po na pwede siyang ma-blackmail or pwede rin siyang malagay sa mga maling bagay or mga illegal stuff, mga ganung bagay.
Siyempre po yung mental health nila kasi pag may mga videos na rin kasi tapos nakita na ng mga tao or kahit yung photos, may hirapan siya na i-defend yung sarili niya eh. Kasi siyempre, kung realistic tingnan, pwede niyang makonvince yung ibang tao na hindi totoo, pero for some people na hindi open, parang hindi sila very knowledgeable dun. Siyempre, close-minded sila about it. And pwedeng masira yung mental health niya.
Ang mga sikat na tao sa Pilipinas, gaya ng P-pop girl group na BINI, ay naging biktima na rin ng deepfake noong Setyembre 2024. Nagbigay na ng pahayag ang Star Magic na kakasuhan nila yung taong nasa likod nito. Hindi rin nakataas ang kilalang doktor na si Doc Willie Ong na di umano'y nag-endorso daw ng epektibong gamot laban sa mga sakit. Ito ang isa sa mga ginagamit ng mga scammer ngayon upang makapanloko ng tao. Sa panahon ngayon, kahit sino na pwede magawa ng deepfake. At sa patuloy ng pag-unlad ng ating teknolohiya, mas lalo nagiging mahirap matukoy ang totoo sa peke.
Siguro as individual, katulad nga sabi ng mga sa awareness na para ma-recognize natin yung deepfake, ito yung mga mga descriptions, so yung bibig,
maaaring gamitin
yung mata,
ang produkto
yung katawan,
ay kasalukuyang ginagamit.
So kapag kakaiba at nakikita mo parang hindi tumutugma dun sa audio niya, yung video na nakikita mo, that's deepfake. Actually, cybercrime awareness is applicable to all people who are using the ICT or the technology. So kung hindi ka gumagamit ng technology, siyempre siguro exempted ka. Pero once you hold the cellphone and the computers, you are the possible target ng mga perpetrators. Bata o matanda, marunong o hindi, mayaman o mahirap. So lahat tayo possible target. Walang exempted. Lalo na yung active sa social media. Yan yung possible target. 100% target. So kung sino yung active sa social media, sila yung possible victim.
Kahit na sino hindi lang yung mga matataas na tao, mga artista or mga celebrities ang pwedeng maging biktima ng deepfake and itong mga cybercrimes na to, ano? Actually, it could be anybody. Ordinary Pilipino, di ba? Na pagtripan mo yung kapitbahay mo, gamitin mo sa deepfake, di ba? Nakakatakot, di ba? Gusto mong sirain lang yung kaaway mo, di ba? And that's unfair. Unfair yan na wala kang kalaban-laban. So, ano ang dapat gawin ng tao? So, saan ba sila pupunta? Paano ba nila may ipaglalaban yung kanilang mga karapatan? Sa tingin ko, dapat meron tayong mga maalam na tao na makapagpaliwanag kung paano nangyayari ito. We have actually Republic Act 10175, which is our Cybercrime Prevention Act of 2012. Okay, so we could actually utilize this law. But remember, this cybercrime law was passed in 2012. And if I remember it right, way back in 2012, itong issue ng artificial intelligence and deepfake were still in their infancy stage, di ba? Parang ito kasing AI, nalagang naging conscious tayo sa power ng AI, I think during the past 5 years lang. Okay? But still, I feel that we could apply some of the provisions of the cybercrime law with respect to some violations or unlawful or fraudulent use of deepfake technology. But admittedly, as I have said, maybe it's about time for Congress to take a second look. Aside from our cybercrime law, we actually have a constitutionally protected right, yung right to privacy. Okay? But I think the more challenging problem, or the challenge that we have to face is most people, ordinary people especially, are not aware of the rights with respect to violations of privacy or violations of their rights involving itong use of technology like deepfake technology or the use of artificial intelligence. Hindi pa masyadong alam ng ordinaryong tao yan. Even kami ng mga lawyers, hindi pa kami ganun ka-aware dyan. Kasi nga, kulang pa yung ating legislation, kulang pa yung ating policies with respect sa protection ng rights concerning technology, AI, and so on. Ang isang problema dito, when you're going to prosecute criminals, kailangan very specific kung ano yung mga crimes na ginagawa nila. Diba? Madali kasing takasan ang isang krimen kahit pa meron kang ginawang masama kung hindi well-defined yung ating kung ano yung criminal, ano yung ipinagbabawal ng batas. Okay? So kung titignan natin itong batas, very general pa lang. Yes, we have laws protecting against violation of privacy, or we have laws concerning cybercrime, pero hindi maliwanag kung ano yung actually yung pinagbabawal. So like for example, we have no law explicitly saying that the use of deepfake technology, di ba, that will harm an individual is a criminal act. Di ba? It's about time that we take a review of that.
Si Plaridel ay patunay na kahit hindi sikat, pwede maging biktima ng deepfake. At ayon na rin kay Police Captain Alex Jimenez at Attorney Luch Gempis Jr., wala itong pinipiling estado ng tao at pwede itong mangyari kahit kanino. Sa mundo na laganap na ang teknolohiya at ang Pilipinas ay kasama sa top 10 sa pinakamarami gumagamit ng social media, paano nga ba tayo magiging ligtas sa mga panganib nito? Sa susunod na episode, tuklasin natin ang mga posibleng solusyon at hakbang upang labanan ang mga maling paggamit sa deepfake.